let's now move on then to our third speaker of the day, Mr. Ewan Brennan from Save the Elephants. Ewan is the head of Tsavo Operations at Save the Elephants, and he leads conservation efforts all across the Tsavo area. And he's going to demonstrate to us how we can use holistic strategies like tracking technologies, bee fences, alternative crops, and partnerships, all to foster human-elephant coexistence in the area. So thank you very much for joining us, Ewan. I'm just going to quickly run through our key learning outcomes for your session. So that's to understand the scale and distribution of human-elephant conflict in Tsavo and the surrounding regions, to learn about tested migration tools such as buzzbox, beehive fences and repellents, explore the Save the Elephants community training and tool deployment model, and recognize the importance of empowering local communities for long-term existence. So, Ewan, thank you very much for joining us, and over to you.
Thanks, Yael, Mareth, Johan, everyone at Share Screen for having me in this. And yeah, hi to everyone at Midland State University and from any other places that people are listening in from. So my name's Ewan Brennan, Head of Tsavo Operations for Save the Elephants, based here up in Kenya and East Africa. So hopefully this will give another little perspective on human-elephant conflict, human-elephant coexistence, and perhaps how it differs from the situation in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa. I thought I'd start with a quote. Really mirrors quite well a lot what Donald and Kudakwashe were saying, and I think it's obvious, but the future of elephants will be forged in the minds of the people. As Donald was saying, in Western Africa, if there is no political community will for the continued existence of wildlife, it is often extirpated. So I think, in my opinion, in many schools of thought around these issues, community and political perceptions of wildlife are the most important thing. Starting with a map here, less than 50 years ago, here is the elephant range. Any place that elephants could be found across the entirety of the continent. And if we fast forward to just last year, you can see that more than half of that area has now had elephants extirpated from, particularly kind of in Central and Western Africa. East and Southern Africa are doing much better. So zooming into Kenya, particularly on human-wildlife conflict, you can see from these two maps the overlap between its conservation areas and the intensity of human-wildlife conflict. This is all species now. The map on the right, essentially, you can see Tsavo in the southeast. You can see Mount Kenya in the center there, and you can see you can see Amboseli in the center there, and then you can see Mount Kenya further to the north. Those are the three main human-wildlife conflict hotspot areas here. This data is drawn from a government report looking at all the different types of human-wildlife conflict, and yeah, where its incidents are highest. You can see Tsavo, Southern, and Mountain are definitely the highest, and this is also where we find the majority of Kenya's wildlife inside protected areas. Zooming into elephants specifically, of course, we are Save the Elephants, right? So elephants are our main focus, and regarding human-elephant coexistence conflict, however you'd like to say it, I think for good reason, because you can see across all conservation areas where elephants are present, particularly Tsavo, Southern, Northern, and Mountain, and indeed coast, you can see that elephants account for by far the highest number of human-wildlife conflict cases that are reported to the Kenya Wildlife Service. In Tsavo, particularly, which is where we'll be focusing on a little bit today, and where Save the Elephants has one of its field sites. Again, just to highlight, elephants are by far the species that are responsible for most human-wildlife conflict cases. That isn't to say that the others aren't significant, but elephants far exceed the rest by multiple times, even when combined. Zooming in a little bit closer again, this is Taita Taveta County, which in which most of Tsavo East and Tsavo West national parks can be found. Collectively known as the Tsavos, it is Kenya's largest national park and protected area between Tsavo West and Tsavo East. The Chula Hills National Park in South Kitui, it's almost 30,000 square kilometers of well managed and protected national park, and is a popular tourist destination. Also, Kenya's largest population of elephants. The recent survey now has it exceeding 15,000, and so of course lots of human-elephant conflict as a result. And this is perhaps obvious, but I thought it worth putting in there as well. If you can kind of keep in your mind the different types of human-elephant conflict here, in particular threat and crop raiding, you'll see that it aligns very closely with human population density. Zooming back out slightly, we can see here, the Tsavo conservation area. As Kudakwashe was saying earlier, Save the Elephants also has a bunch of collars on elephants around the ecosystem. Partly for human-elephant conflict interventions and mitigation, but also to track the areas of connectivity that still exist between different segments of this ecosystem. And if we zoom in to this small yellow square here, that's where our main focus of operation is, which is this map here. The red and the blue lines is collar data from 2 elephants. Excuse me. The yellow is farmland. The grayish background area is community land, largely, or sort of not protected areas, and then the green is national parks. You can see during these few months, these 2 elephants appeared to be trying to cross the linear infrastructure here, that is the highway and the rail line. Weren't able to. There's lots of trucks. It's the Mombasa Highway. It's East Africa's busiest cargo road, and then the rail line is up on an embankment. Elephants weren't able to cross. These two in particular, and then essentially kind of bounced back into the farming area that you can see highlighted in yellow. It's up for speculation if those 2 elephants were able to cross, would they have not crop raided? It's very possible. We can't say for sure, but it just it just highlights the need to keep wildlife movement free, so that they're able to move past community areas, agriculture, without getting into human wildlife. Here we can see on the far right is that community area within the yellow square from the map before. On the far left is Tsavo East National Park. Both contain wildlife of the same populations that have been known to move freely through this ecosystem for a very long time, and now there is a modern challenge to contend with. The one very positive thing here is that you can see the rail line does have an underpass, a specific underpass designed for wildlife to pass, and if that is maintained as it is now, then elephants will continue to move through. Circling back around to us to Save the Elephants, our first project was formed by our director, Dr. Lucy King. She scientifically demonstrated after understanding this from some elders up in Samburu in northern Kenya. She scientifically demonstrated that elephants have a natural fear of honeybees, and used this used this idea to develop the beehive fence, um, which is now deployed in many countries and elephant range states across Africa and indeed Asia. The project focused just on that for a good while, but then it quickly became obvious that beehive fences alone are not enough to really go anywhere near solving human-elephant conflict in any particular area. So we began trialing a whole range of other different methods, some of which were known through indigenous knowledge. Others were developed by local people, other organizations, technical interventions, all of these sort of things. Um, and here's just a few examples of some of the mitigation methods that Save the Elephants has implemented along with the Sagala community in which the people with whom we work. Um, that brought us around to the realization that there's lots and lots and lots of knowledge out there about mitigating human elephant conflict or promoting human elephant coexistence, but it is not the dissemination of that information is very much lacking. Everybody knows about using torches, about using noise deterrents, about using certain types of fencing, but not all of it. There's a very, very large number of mitigation methods here. If you have $1 million, if you have $10, if you have $0, there is something that can be done. And I just want to premise this next section by saying we acknowledge very clearly that this is not the solution to human-elephant conflict. This is one piece of the puzzle. And particularly, as Donald has been saying before, the long term the best long term strategy for encouraging any sort of human wildlife coexistence is outside of government protected areas. In particular, has to have a strong community led focus with adequate benefit sharing and reduced costs of living alongside wildlife. Um, and yeah, the benefits are really one of the main focuses. Our approach here, given that we do not engage in any sort of like conservancies or anything that manages land or anything, our strategy has been to really collate all this information, try and disseminate it in a way that anybody can 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 access and can use to implement some of these methods even tomorrow in their farm if they're experiencing human elephant conflict. So this focus is really on these technical interventions for mitigating conflict, for promoting human elephant coexistence, while acknowledging that, of course, conservation partners, communities, governments, and other places are much more well suited to designing the long-term coexistence strategy that requires a much stronger community involvement with all of the different elements that it has. Here's just an idea of some of the contents here. It doesn't only focus on chilies and smoke and lights and all the rest. It's got a large focus on elephant behavior as well, which is really key. Because of conservation efforts in some places, people are now in contact with elephants again, who haven't seen them for perhaps many years, and that traditional or that long-standing understanding of how to live alongside them has perhaps been lost. How do you know when an elephant is suspicious of you or might be looking to charge? That knowledge base is key, particularly in avoiding human injury and death from elephants. It's got other elements like food storage and protection. Certainly in Kenya, in rural areas, elephants raiding people's homes for stored grain or water is a not uncommon occurrence. So looking to secure these structures properly is quite key. Here's an example of elephant safe food store being put in Zambia with Conservation South Luangwa. Um, Here's just another example. You can see the kind of layout of the toolbox. This is the organic smelly elephant repellent developed by an organization called Wild Aid up near Murchison Falls in Uganda, along with a student group. And this has a bit of a there's some preparation involved, but you can see how it how this kind of technical manual could be used to get this understanding. This is STEP Southern Tanzania Elephant Project, trialing the smelly repellent fence, and here's just a few examples of how STE has supported partners to trial these methods. The toolbox itself is we believe is a fantastic resource. It's free to access. I've sent share screen the link. Anyone is free to request it and download it free of charge. All the rest. It's a wealth of information on these technical human elephant conflict mitigation measures. Um, um, and we have then also refined our focus on finding ways, again, to disseminate this information as far as possible. And so we developed our human elephant coexistence training of trainers project. Um, the Kenya Wildlife Service developed a really comprehensive and useful conflict mitigation strategy back in 2023. And there are many recommendations in there, cutting across sectors and actors, but one of them was that human wildlife conflict action should have focus on empowering communities to be self-reliant in mitigating, managing, and protecting themselves and their property against human wildlife conflicts. That isn't to say um, that issues of conservation and compensation of wildlife ranger interventions on equally as important, but it I think it highlights the point here quite nicely. So we run 3-day workshops, inviting community leaders, project officers, rangers, government representatives from organizations. At the moment, more so across Kenya, but in the future, hopefully from across Africa as well, to really try and build capacity of the participants on the range of human elephant conflict mitigation methods that are out there. So that the participants can return then to their organizations, their community, their area of operation, and pass this information along to their peers, so that affected communities and individuals are more empowered to install or implement some of these methods. And like I said, if you've got $1 million or if you've got $0, there are multiple tools that fit both price brackets. The training itself is kind of split across three different styles. The first is kind of classroom style, kind of lecture-y. Our least favorite one. It's not very interactive, but it's really where a lot of the information gets handed across. We have practical assembly of certain toolbox methods, again, slightly time constrained as it's only 3 days, but seeing practically how some of these things are put together is good. And then the main focus is on-site demonstrations of deployed tools within the area of Sagala, where we've been working alongside the community here now for more than 10 years on human elephant conflict mitigation. Here's just an example of a beehive fence, and the landowner, the farmer, describing how it works to a group of participants. We only started this back in 2023, but we've had nearly 240 participants from 26 different organizations in 7 countries. This data is under review, but more than 13,000 people reached with some sort of second order training, where our trainees come trainers have returned to their own communities or area of operation to pass along this training. And we believe more than 200 human elephant conflict methods have been installed. But again, we are currently reviewing the data. So that's all. Like I said, if anyone would like the toolbox or to reach out about the training of trainers workshops that we're running, here's my contacts. I believe Ciel or others might be able to share a download link for the toolbox itself, and I hope it can be helpful there. That's all. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ian. It's really amazing to learn about all the really cool work you're doing, especially that elephant toolbox, which I think is incredibly helpful. And Murat has actually shared a link in the chat, so everyone is free to download that as they would like.
Great.
I would love for everyone to put their questions in the chat or raise their hand if they'd like. In the meantime, do have some questions from the students at Tshwane University of Technology in South Africa. They are joining in a big classroom with their lecturer, Dr. Shell Ogilvie, and we work with them quite a lot, so we're really happy to have them here. So one
Great.
of the questions that they were asking about is the work integrated learning. Do you do any kind of those kind of work integrated learning projects where students who are studying can then come and do sort of a work placement before they complete their studies?
Yeah, we do. And this presentation was obviously very focused on human elephant
Yeah.
conflict and the toolbox. But we do have a long running internship program as well. We take at any one time we run 6 week internships or attachments for Kenyan students, usually recent graduates or those that are needing a work placement from university, and
Mm.
they come and get plugged in with our various work. A large part of it is on human-elephant coexistence, conflict mitigation, but also landscape elephant monitoring, as well as some other community-based projects, um, such as improving community health systems, engagements with schools, conservation agriculture, and the rest.
Fantastic. Now that you mention it, we actually have a conservation agriculture program running with ShareScreen. So while it's on my mind, I'm going to follow up with you about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cheryl, the students at TUT go and do their work learning, integrated learning at Ndumu, and they also have a lot of problems with elephant conflict there as well. The next question I have from Cheryl is, what is in the elephant deterrent mixture? Are we allowed to know, or is it a secret recipe?
No, no, you absolutely can. I only put one of the pages from that particular tool on my presentation, but it's essentially a mix of elephant dung, chilies, a couple of other ingredients I don't know if you get neem leaves. Um, it's kind of bitter. It's often used as a
Yeah.
pesticide. A couple of other ingredients, some rotten eggs or eggs that are just on the turn. You mix it all up. You cook it up in some water. You put it in a big drum or barrel or something. You leave it to essentially ferment and rot for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you filter the solids out and use that liquid. And it's a horrendous smell. Obviously, elephants have massively powerful senses of smell, but even to us mere humans with our weak noses, it's can't go near it. It's abhorrent.
Yeah, I can imagine that sounds very, very deterring, that's for sure. Um, I'm not seeing any questions coming up at the moment. Please do ask if you have any. My question is about habituation. Obviously, you're using a lot of these methods kind of in conjunction, but do you have problems with habituation?
Yeah, fantastic question, and something I should have definitely emphasized more during my little spiel there. Elephants do definitely habituate to almost anything. I've seen examples of elephants with half a dozen different ways of breaking through a 14-strand electric fence, including pushing the posts over with their tusks, pulling them over with their trunk, pushing their smaller mates first through the wire so that the young guy gets a shock and then the bigger older guys walk through. They're really ingenious.
Yeah,
Um, the the message that I think should really come with the toolbox is that no one method works 100%.
yeah,
Varying your methods, combining them, using them in a random order, having a variety of these things able to be implemented is the best way to avoid habituation. An electric fence always stings or always zaps you. Bees always sting. Chilies in your nose or in your eyes always hurts. But apart from that, the most mitigation methods really focus on scaring the elephant or surprising it. So if it's approaching an area that it's undesirable in. So varying the methods as much as you can, using different ones, combining them in new ways is the best way to avoid habituation. And that's something that should be really focused on. A lot of people use just torches or simple noise methods like banging a pot. But the elephants very quickly realize I've been here every day for a month, and I've had this torch in my eyes, and I hear this kind of weird
Yeah,
sound, but
but
nothing's
nothing bad
happening.
happens. Yeah,
Nothing bad
exactly.
happens, right? But then if you suddenly throw a chili bomb in there or a different noise or surprise the elephant in some way.
Mm.
Elephants are naturally very risk averse, and so if there's something new or surprising, if they feel there's a risk, then it's much more likely to be successful.
Great, thank you. Very interesting. Yeah, it's just amazing how clever and intelligent they are. And I guess it's kind of like a game or a dance that you just have to keep playing with them to always one outsmarting the other.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any questions coming through, but we've got a lot of thank yous coming through. I think everyone found that talk really insightful, as did I. So thank you so much, and thank you as well for sharing that toolkit. I'm sure it'll be incredibly useful. We are going to move on to our last speaker now, but if you're happy to hang around, I don't know if a few more questions might come in the chat, and you can just keep an eye on that and see.
Yeah, no problem. I'll drop my email address in the
Great.
chat as well if anyone's got any questions or follow up about Toolbox or other things I've spoken about. Yeah, please feel free to reach out.
Fantastic. That's really kind. And thank you so much again, Ewan. We really appreciate you coming on here and talking to us about all of this. So thank you.
Great, thanks.